rise is staggering. The Department of Defense says there has been a 40% increase in suicides from just 2015 to 2020 among active duty service members.
As a peacetime Navy veteran, it's hard to come to terms that I've lost people who have called me Doc without ever seeing combat. Suicide, as well as accidents, have taken more service members than the Taliban or ISIS could ever have. We stress the importance of mental health, but the suicide rates in the military have been climbing ever since the COVID pandemic. I've lost a few people during my time in the service, and even VMI, but the weight of Memorial Day really started to hit me last year. I was 3 months out of the military. The stress of figuring out what I was going to do with my life was encroaching. And one night while I was grilling outside in the backyard for a few of my fiance's friends inside, around 4 or 5 drinks in, I started thinking about the past. And then the next moment I started to collapse on myself. At that time I had lost 2 Marines from my unit. One to suicide, one to an accident. Only 2 months after Memorial Day, I found out another one of my Marines fell to suicide. So within 1 year I had lost 3 Marines. I had served with them, drank with them, ran with them. Being their corpsman, their doc, makes it hurt even more. My job in the military was to keep them from harm, but now that I'm out, I couldn't do that. I don't blame myself, but it didn't feel right to me to see the Facebook post come in, knowing that I didn't do anything to help them. But I'm not posting this video to mope about myself. This is Memorial Day, and we celebrate those who lost their lives in service to this great country. So I, along with one of my civvy friends, will be completing a Murph. As every CrossFitter knows, it is 1 mile run, 300 squats, 200 push-ups, 100 pull-ups, and another mile run with a 20-pound weight. Along the way, I want you to sit back and listen as I recall those who I am remembering this Memorial Day. Alright, so about a mile from here is the pull-up bars, so we're going to run there, and then we'll start the circuits. I remember one night, a few days after I left the Navy, as I got into bed with Mia, I was checking Facebook to see post after post about the passing of Austin Sheets. Born and raised in Texas, he was a LS Marine, also known as a Red Patcher. The LS platoon always had a tribal sense of belonging within the battalion, and they always had a close bond to each other. And Austin Sheets was always one of the most charismatic Marines within that platoon, always making jokes and smiling. I, along with other Marines, would also call him compassionate. He was loved by all on that small island of Okinawa, and especially that smaller base of Camp Foster. I remember spending the nights with him and the platoon overseeing their HST missions. He was always supported by his Marine brothers through good times and bad, and he is remembered dearly for what he did for his team. Alright, so now that we just ran a mile, we're going to start off with 300 squats. 1 month later, I see more Facebook posts about Victor Julian Varela Martinez. He was a motor T mechanic from Colorado, and I had a closer friendship with him. I remember seeing him around from time to time in the battalion, but during our detachment to Korea, our bond was molded by the smoke sessions hosted by our McMap instructors. We would get the shit kicked out of us in the oppressive heat and humidity of Korea, but we would also spend time going into town and exploring the new country. While he would constantly give me shit about a variety of different things, he always upheld a high level of respect and kindness for everyone. I just did the squats. Next thing we're going to do is push-ups. He also had a never quit attitude. I learned that he had aspirations to be a Marine Raider, yet he faced setback after setback, from getting pneumonia and broken ribs in boot camp, which led him to not getting his infantry contract, to getting swimmers here and even testing positive for COVID. Yet he never gave up on his dream. Victor Varela Martinez would have done extremely well in that group of warriors because he was one. Fate, however, did not give him the chance, as it was an accident on the road that took his life. My arms are fucking dead right now, but we're gonna do the 100 pull-ups the best we can. After a few months had gone by, the Facebook posts came in for Alex Sheik Smith. He was actually one of the first Marines I had ever met, as we took part in a road building operation in Thailand. The both of us were out in the middle of the jungle, away from the rest of the main camp, as we would spend our days and nights tossing rocks into a hole. He had a quiet sophistication about him. He was actually the one that showed me my favorite bar in Okinawa. We would sit in the quiet, relaxing space, sipping our drinks and smoking our cigars. He told me he was going to get out and pursue business back in Detroit. He was also extremely well versed in his knowledge of machines, as well as charismatic and trusting to those who even just got to know him. While serving, he too had also experienced one of his own Marines commit suicide before he left the service. Alright, we did all that. We run back and we'll be done. The three of them are now immortalized in my book, Legend of Yamashita's Treasure, as side characters in the first chapter. I can't begin to know what happened to Austin and Alec during their time out of the Marines. I didn't reach out to them, and that was a failure on my part. And if anyone is struggling, you have to know that you're not alone. My personal Instagram is linked down below for anyone who wants to talk, especially if you serve with me. But from what I can gather through my own experiences, is that one of the big reasons that veterans are not adjusting well is that society is not meeting the masculine needs. Those with a masculine polarity crave purpose and belonging more than sharing their thoughts or feelings. And the military gives you both a purpose and a belonging. And while objectively speaking, civilian society is better, those who serve still crave the military lifestyle because it gave them structure and understanding of where they were in life and who was there to help them. In civilian society though, it's a fucking struggle. Nobody needs to care about you, and you aren't given a mission. While civilians can cope better because it is all they know, it can be difficult for people to go from a masculine fraternity of meritocracy to the shrill nihilism of modern society. At least that's why I struggled in my first year that I had gotten back from the military.
Baby, what the fuck are you doing?
This Memorial Day, I encourage you all to reach out to those who have served. For those who have fallen, do not be consumed by the darkness of their loss, but rather be enlightened as you celebrate the life they've lived and the moments they gave you. And if that isn't enough, just do a Murph, because if you start crying, then people will assume that it's because of the workout. Yeah! That's all I have for today. Thank you guys for watching. For love of all that is good and a God-given duty to protect it, I'll see you guys in the next one.